All-Stars, where we already have 2 machines through to the finals and 2 more slots left available, with 6 more machines about to gear up ready for another brutal heat. So let's go to the battleboard and check it out. 4 flippers, 1 ram lifter, and a spinner. Down top gear with the CO2 flipper up against Firestorm 2 with their front hinge flipping arm and 2-degree ground clearance, who have been struggling with wheeling this entire series, unfortunately. Down top gear 2, unfortunately, as well. Pika destroyed with a Thunderbolt spinning bar up against the sadly underwhelming Shockwave. But first up, it's Spawn again with the CO2 flipper up against Team Chaos's machine. Chaos substituting for Chaos 2 because it took, well, you know. Spawn again. Flipper. An impressive flipper that finally got to show what it's really made of this series. The CO2 flipper is one of the steepest in the competition, as well as one of the strongest, and the drive is also fairly quick. The armor, however, isn't that strong, and the vulnerable underbelly of the machine can be seriously taken advantage of. Chaos. Flipper. Team Chaos were originally going to compete with this machine for the Third Wars, but wanted to try and get Chaos 2 working before bringing the old version into the ring. Thankfully, lots of teams were willing to help get Chaos 2 ready. This version, being the original, has a very narrow flipping arm with 2-wheel drive and a similar drive as Chaos 2 does, making it quick and nippy. The blade can also be used as a ramming spike, which is interesting, and can allegedly self-right, which they'll need as Chaos 1 has a humongous ground clearance.
Roboteers, stand by.
Spawn again with the CO2 powered flipper, and Chaos with their front CO2 ram, and are actually almost blinding to look at. You just look at the light coming off of Chaos's armor. You could get blinded
3,
from that.
2, 1, activate.
But let's see. Well, the ram almost being used as a spike and already overturned by Spawn again, and are in major trouble right off the bat. I did mention the high ground clearance, but there is also, well, it's also comparatively light compared to other machines. To be treated like a toy here by Spawn again, flipped over near the spikes. Can Chaos come back? I don't overly think so. Well, maybe by Spawn again, but not by themselves. And have driven into the center again, and have flung away. And it's a mere bauble for Spawn again. Chaos up and over. And is everything okay with Chaos? Not now, it's not at the arena. And Spawn again nearly down the bit there.
6.
But it's Chaos who's crashing out into the losers melee for this All-Stars heat. And it's Spawn again showing off their power and heading on through to the All-Stars second round. And honestly, it really wasn't much of a challenge for Spawn again. The high ground clearance, that's what sealed it for Chaos. Next up, Pika, Destroy, and Shockwave. Pika, Destroy, Spinner. Came fourth in the competition, losing in a grudge match against Peach. The Thunderbolt bar seems more deadly and dangerous than it did in the last wars, and the drive is still as quick as ever. The exposed wheels are still an issue, and as we've seen, the biggest weak spot on the machine is right at the back of the machine, inside the head. Shockwave. Lifter. As the third seeds for Series 3, we expected to see the same heights, if not greater, in the series. Sadly, they didn't live up to it. The drive was quite impressive, and the weapon seemed to be a decent bulldozer to ram everyone out of the way, but the exposed wheels are one of the major things that saw the machine's quick exit, as well as its own drive.
Roboteers, stand by.
Pika, Destroy, with the Thunderbolt spinning bar. A very formidable machine in the competition, as we said, And Shockwave with their front lifting plow.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Came third in the last wars with Earthquake. Thought they'd live up those same heights. Sadly, haven't been able to. And they've lost 2 of their tires. I think the front tires for the wheels they have. And that's going to cause major problems for their drive as Pika Destroy can just keep flinging into them. And they're smoking as well. And has Shockwave ground to a halt here? I think they have. And it's happened again. They've collapsed just like they did in the main competition. And that is such a shame. The arena's being lifted and bit to them. We expected to see more from Shockwave, honestly. I thought they'd get to the same heights as their predecessor Earthquake did in the last wars. But no. The Silver Rumble was as far as they got. And that was a shame. And Pika Destroy the coup de grace down the pit.
6.
And Shockwave will have some repairs to do to get themselves ready for the losers melee. Meanwhile, Pika Destroy going through. And they didn't really need to struggle much, did they, Pika Destroy? Poor Shockwave, they had a horrible run this series. Next up, Dan Tomkia and Firestorm 2. Dan Tomkia, Flipper. They seemed like they were on the road to another semi-final. Their own poor driving, however, saw the end of that as they ended up down the pit, and it was Mortis who went through. The CO2 Flipper, however, did toss every one of its opponents out of the arena with minimal effort, and the drive is still very quick. But the wheeling still caused a couple issues for them. Firestorm 2 Flipper. They did have a much better run than they did in the last wars with their new, stronger flipping arm as it tossed the Dark Destroyer out of the arena in its first fight. Sadly, their own drive saw their demise, and they ended up down the pit, and Mousetrap of all machines in the heat went through. This new build definitely seems more impressive, but they suffered quite a lot from wheeling getting off the mark.
Roboteers, stand by.
2 machines that have had trouble with wheeling in this series of Robot Wars. And a double flipper fight. This should be rather interesting. Case of ground clearance, Dan Tomkia with the CO2 powered flipper, and Firestorm with their front flipping arm.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Who can get underneath their opponent first? Well, Dan Tomkia didn't even move, and Dan Tomkia underneath Firestorm and throwing them up and over, and one final flip should see to the end of them. Oh, not onto the wall. They're close, and now they're out. That's the end of Firestorm 2 into the losers melee, and that was a very quick victory there for Dan Tomkia. Spinning in the light as they progress through to the second round with minimal effort, it has to be said. Thrown over Firestorm, up and over, and out the arena they go. Was rather effortless for Dan Tomkia. Firestorm 2, well, they just did one mistake, and it cost them everything. They're out into the losers melee with Shockwave and Chaos. And that's the lineup for the losers melee. Can Chaos someone make a comeback? Has Shockwave fixed anything? And can Firestorm 2 do anything to redeem themselves, I wonder?
Roboteers, stand by.
An interesting lineup for the losers melee. Chaos with the front CO2 ram. Shockwave with their front plow. Honestly, I do see them falling, given their performance in the past. And Firestorm 2 with their CO2 flipping arm. Hopefully, they'll get a better performance here than they did against Dan Tomkia.
1. Activate.
Now, let's see. Well, over goes Chaos. That was expected. And it's Shockwave who's doing it and pushing them against the wall with Firestorm 2 on them. Chaos trying to right themselves, but they're very close to the wall. They've righted, almost. but they're stuck on the wall, and they can't escape from there. And now in comes Shockwave to slam Firestorm 2 into the arena wall, and are almost hitting them there, and they're throwing themselves over. Oh, that's brilliant. And have actually righted themselves as well. And suddenly, Shockwave is lasting a lot longer. They'd have been burnt out at this point, but they're still going. Suddenly, they've come to life. Firestorm 2, stuck on the wall. They can't escape. Then again, Shockwave isn't helping matters. The flipping arm of Firestorm 2, keeping them stuck. Can they right themselves? Can they get away? Yes, and they seem to have flown over Shockwave. Sorry, I can't comprehend the fact that Shockwave is actually working and is on top. Chaos has been long forgotten. Shockwave once again pushing away at Firestorm 2 into the arena wall. And Shockwave on top here underneath Firestorm and are pushing them away. And they nearly had them down the pit. And down they go! And they've joined them as well. But it's Firestorm 2 who crashed into the pit first. And it's Shockwave making it back into the competition against all odds. I thought Shockwave were going to crash out just like they had against Picard Destroy, as they did in the preliminary stage of their heat, as well as the Silver Rumble. But nope. Shockwave, out of everyone, goes through. I'm speechless at that. Did not expect Shockwave to win that one, but that's the result. Firestorm 2 down the pit and out. Chaos against the wall and immobilized, long forgotten. So this is how round 2 of the All-Stars looks, with the CO2 flipper of Dan Tomkia taking on Shockwave later, but first the flipper of Spawn again, taking on the Thunderbolt spinning bar of Picard Destroy.
Roboteers, stand by.
Spawn again with the CO2 powered flipper, and Picard Destroy with the Thunderbolt spinning bar. This should be a fairly interesting fight, I think.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Though then again, Spawn again hasn't had the greatest of time with spinners, like the time against Minotaur in the Last Wars, and Peach in the semi-finals. So they seem to be doing okay here against Picard Destroy, but Picard Destroy not letting up either. And is Spawn again okay? I don't think they are. There's some drive issues. You can see they're not driving fluidly, and I think they're suffering the same problem they did in their fight with Peach. And that is a shame. And now, they're both out! What happened there? The one collision, and it sends them both cascading! But it's Spawn again who fell first! And then Picard Destroy! Spawn again crashed into the bench first! And then Picard Destroy went out the arena! Picard Destroy going through to the heat final only just, I think! Spawn again fell first. We're gonna have to wait for the judges to come back on that one. But from that replay, I think Spawn again were out first, just before Picard Destroy fell over the arena wall. And the judges, they agree with me. Spawn again are out. Picard Destroy through just barely. Next up, Dan Tomkia and Shockwave.
Roboteers, stand by.
Dan Tomkia with the CO2 powered flipper. And the shock, I think, of this heat, Shockwave, making shockwaves as they somehow managed to get themselves ready and into the second round of the All-Stars.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Still can't overly believe that. And I also can't believe that Shockwave just had Dan Tomke go up and over. And another flip at Dan Tomke down the pit! Well, that was over very, very fast. From this one push here from Shockwave, a flip from both machines, and I think Dan Tomke had a wheel over the pit. And that's why they reversed into it. And it's Dan Tomke crashing out at this stage. They could find their flipper all they want to try and get out, but that's not going to happen. They are out. And it's Shockwave into our heat final. I am absolutely gobsmacked. Shockwave into the heat final. Dan Tomke, what were you doing? You just span and reverse into the pit, you morons. Well, Dan Tomke, that's where they crash out. And this is our heat final. A rematch from earlier in this heat. Picard destroyed with the Thunderbolt spinning bar, and Shockwave, who suddenly found life. Our heat final looked to be a repeat of a previous All-Stars heat final between Yovatono and 259. Picard, Destroy, and Shockwave fought earlier in this heat, and they're fighting each other again in the heat final here. And this was the end result. Shockwave losing their front tires to Picard Destroy's Thunderbolt bar, and then the motors burnt. They lost their drive, and that was basically the end of Shockwave. They had no movement, and Picard Destroy to finish them off with a final nudge from the rear and down the pit went Shockwave. That's where they crashed out, and then they struggled against Spawn again because of their wedge and flipper. Spawn again tried very hard taking them out, but that attack there took out the drive, and that's where Spawn again had troubles, and then that happened. Spawn again into the pits, Picard Destroy out the arena. Meanwhile, Shockwave had to fight back through the loser's melee, and this was where surprises happened. They immobilized Chaos, and then a great push on Firestorm 2, and had them down the pit and out. And then a push from them onto Dan Tomke. They reversed and down the pit, and they somehow made it here to the heat final.
Stand by.
Picard Destroy and their Thunderbolt spinning by defeated Shockwave before, and Shockwave has since, I don't know, been reborn almost, like there's a fire in them. And can their pushing power help them in this?
2, 3, 1. Activate.
Well, we're going to see, but Shockwave to push Picard Destroy near the pit, and Picard Destroy in the pit! Well, that was poor on their part. This was the push that did it, almost down the pit, and then Shockwave drove around them, and Picard Destroy span too far and down the pit. Well, Shockwave, out of all odds, going through. I think there's a bit of damage to the rear tire, but Shockwave, they're through to the grand finals. What a shocking upset and turn-up. Shockwave, who fell in the first round, comes back around and steals the heat from Picard Destroy to go through to the finals. Well done to them. I have no idea how the hell that happened, but it has. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.